Come on in, guys. How's everybody's start to the weekend going? Hey, Stash Sims. Hey, Lisa. Hey, New Beginning. Hey, hey. Definitely want to talk about this case. I'm going to give it just a minute so everybody can get in here. Are you guys having a great start to the weekend? Aw, I'm having a good one myself. So far, so good. Been a busy day. Hey, April. Hey, CCD. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, good. Good. I'm so glad I have a Bostonian in here. Hey, Paula. Can you guys hear me okay? Too loud? Um, I'm hoping we don't have trouble tonight, but great. Thanks, Paula. I would not be surprised because anytime I discuss this case, it's a problem. But it's all good. Is everyone in here familiar with the case? Sorry, guys. Scoot up. Hair everywhere. This case has brought me hate like no other case I've ever touched. And it is very strange. Very, very strange that it happened like that. I can handle it, like it doesn't bother me, but it bothers me to know that. Hey, Jackie's Concern. How are you? Yeah, it bothers me that this type of stuff exists, for starters, but I never, I never, I never thought of Boston or the Boston area as being like that. So it's kind of taken me back just a little bit. Yeah. Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm so glad you're doing great too. So, the Mikayla Miller case just grabbed me like no other. And I don't know, I just can't turn it loose. So, I'm going to go over just a little timeline for those that aren't as familiar with the case or just need a refresher. Um, on April the 17th, Mikayla Miller, that's this year, Mikayla Miller was last seen in her apartment complex. She lived in her apartment complex with her mother. Um, we're talking about a very nice apartment complex. Her mother is she's a traveling beautician, cosmetologist, whatever you want to call that. I don't want to offend anyone. I'm a kitchen-tician, so it's all good. But hey Sharita. But she lived in this nice apartment complex with her mother, and her mother traveled to do hair. We're not talking about your grandmama's roller set on Saturday morning. We're talking about hair, human hair. Um, you know, not a 27-piece quick weave. We're talking about hair. Now, for those that are not aware, you can make very good money doing that. Hey, D Walsh, I've been so busy. I keep meaning to call you. I'm going to call you tomorrow. Promise. May call you tonight. Um, but this woman just does hair, and she did some very prominent people. Oh, hi, Angela. She did some very prominent people's hair, so she's not like me. She's not a kitchen-tician. But in this apartment complex, they have what's called a clubhouse, or common area. And in this common area, they have Wi-Fi. I think they have a pool table. It's a pretty nice common area. And Mikayla Miller was known to frequent this clubhouse. Now, from 5:41 to 6:40 on April the 17th, Mikayla Miller was in this clubhouse. And she lives in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. I'm going to make sure I say this right so that we get it straight from jump. Miller's in the common area known as the clubhouse. Revolutionary Way in Hopkinton. That's the street that it's on. The friends and 4 other teens arrive at the clubhouse. A 5th person stays outside. Hey, Vanessa. Mikayla Miller gets into an altercation, a physical altercation, with 2 of the teens. 1 boy, 1 girl. But I want to rephrase that because it's not exactly true. 1 adult, 1 girl. I think anybody that watches my channel knows I don't like the word boy. But they want to make it seem like it's little kids. It's not little kids. So they have that pegged down from 5:41 p.m. to 6:40 p.m. That's quite a gap in time. Pretty big gap. At 7:20 p.m., Mikayla's mother, Calvina Struthers, the one that I spoke about earlier, called. I don't know if you guys can hear my stomach rumbling, but it has been rumbling like this all day. Mikayla Miller's mother, Calvina Struthers, calls the police, the Hopkinton police, herself, because she is at home. Okay, there was a rumor that circulated around, and I don't know what happened or where it even came from. Well, I kind of think I know. Hold on one second, guys. There was a rumor that her mother was not in town when this whole physical altercation took place. That's not true. Her mother was at home. There was no problem there. Mama was at home. Mikayla comes home from the clubhouse and she's like, look, these people jumped on me. Mikayla Miller's mother, Calvina Struthers, calls the police herself. All right. 7:20 p.m. Okay. The police leave their residence at 7:43 p.m. So they were called at 7:20. They left at 7:43. From 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, a health app on Mikayla Miller's phone shows that sometime between those 2 times, between 9 and 10, she walked more than 1,300 steps. Now, the problem with that is Mikayla Miller's phone did not have a SIM card in it. So any activity that she had showing on that phone would have happened when she would have been in the Wi-Fi area. So within that clubhouse area. Calvina Struthers called Apple just to double check that. And that's facts. So there's no getting out of that. She walked the 1,300 steps within that Wi-Fi area. Just saying. Now, on April the 18th, following morning, 7:45 a.m., a jogger finds Mikayla Miller's body off of a walking path on West Main. They just find her there. We'll get into that. April the 20th, 2 days later, is when the whole justice for Mikayla Miller started. A spokeswoman for the Middlesex District Attorney's Office said that Mikayla Miller's death was not considered suspicious. Mikayla Miller was found not hanging, standing with a belt around her neck. She was not hanging. She was standing. And that's not suspicious. A social media outcry began then. Family members and supporters called for an investigation to basically call him out on a cover-up. Calls for justice went viral on social media, and several people called for District Attorney Marion T. Ryan's resignation. On May the 4th, the DA's office says it's not a cover-up. What DA's office is going to come out and say, guys, we were trying to cover this up? She held a press conference. Marion T. Ryan held a press conference at her office in Woburn, saying, number one, that the investigation is not complete. Everybody calm down. That's what she was saying. Investigators are interviewing witnesses and examining evidence. She said the death, as well as the alleged assault, remained in active investigation. Yes, it is very suspicious, Paula Taylor. I mean, extremely suspicious. On May the 6th, Calvina Struthers wants criminal justice system to work. They had a rally. It was supposed to be a vigil / rally. And it started at the Boston Marathon starting point. Hundreds of people were there. Calvina Struthers, Mikayla's mom, spoke. And she said, I don't want to be a vigilante. I don't want to have to spend all day on the phone getting and passing along evidence in order for justice to be served. What I want is for the criminal justice system to work. She created a GoFundMe to help pay for an independent investigation. She garnered $40,000 out of that. And then she said she would possibly start a scholarship in her daughter's name. On May the 18th, it was at $56,000. Okay. Also on May the 18th, Mikayla's death was considered a suicide by the medical examiner. On May the 21st, the calls began for Marion T. Ryan to resign. People were calling for her to resign. They wanted an independent investigation, and they really wanted the FBI to step in. That's what they wanted. Now, here's my problem with the whole case. If you've got two separate incidents going on here. You've got the assault, which took place in the clubhouse. Mikayla Miller was a member of the LGBTQ community. She was a Black student athlete. She had plans to go to a historically Black college to study journalism. Super smart girl. She had a girlfriend and her girlfriend was white, and they had had some kind of a little falling out. And that's where a lot of the hate seems to start coming into the case. Anytime you mention her name, it starts to blow up. So, um, her girlfriend's name was Caitlin, and they got into some kind of little argument back and forth, and they decided to call it over. So, Mikayla called Caitlin's mother to say, "Hey, I have some of Caitlin's belongings. Could you please come and get them?" Instead of the mother coming to get them, Caitlin decides to show up herself. When she shows up, she has these other people with her. Um, they come in, they fight in the clubhouse, they jumped on her. Hey, Patness. They jumped on her in the clubhouse and busted her lip. I don't know what all they did to her. I know that the lip is mentioned. It's been mentioned several times. It's been mentioned by the police officer. It's been mentioned by the district attorney herself. So they admit that a physical altercation took place and that there were injuries in that physical altercation. Hey, Nene. So that is an assault. Nothing has happened in that assault. Nothing's been done. It's been alleged, even alleged by attorney Ben Crump, that two of the people that are or were at that jumping of Mikayla Miller are connected to the local police. So that's a problem in itself. Small town, somebody knows somebody that knows somebody, but dad might have been on the force. Okay, we know how that works. So we've got two people that were involved in the assault on Mikayla Miller that are connected to the local police in some way, shape, or form. When the policeman came out, he didn't arrest anyone. He didn't do anything. He documented that Mikayla Miller had been assaulted. He did do that much. Initially, it didn't show up on the police report for the day, the log, but they covered that up by saying they had a separate log for things like that, and considering that she was a juvenile, blah, blah, blah. So that's understandable. There's a couple of things, though, about that night that are a little weird. Number one, there was a parking lot on the police log. There was a parking lot with multiple cars in it. And we're talking 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Where were those people? Hey, Mika. Where were those people? It doesn't make any sense. Why were there multiple cars there shortly before she's found deceased? Hey, Derek. Okay, good deal. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just a little fishy. It smells funny. Monica Cannon Grant seems to be another source of people getting riled up. Regardless of what she believes, I am 100% in line with her on this case. She has really been the key person to get this case pushed into the spotlight so that people hear about it and are familiar with the name. She's had a couple of guys. Yes. She's had a couple of guys that, celebrities that have tweeted about Mikayla Miller, and that helped tremendously. It always does. Hey, John Q. So we got a parking lot full of cars in the wee hours of the morning, shortly before Mikayla Miller is found standing beside of a tree with a belt around her neck. Yes, initially people were saying that she was lynched. Bing Crump has since corrected that and said, no, that's not what happened. She was standing. So, so after this altercation that took place, that everyone admits happened, from the DA to the police to her mother, nobody got arrested, but they keep pushing it off to say we're still investigating it. Okay. Somebody should have been arrested for that long time ago, back in April. Right. Just because their phones say they weren't there doesn't mean that they weren't. That's so true. Then you have Mikayla at home. Her mother goes to bed. This is where I was trying to explain to the white supremacists who were coming at me on this case. They were saying, oh, her mother wasn't even there. Her mother didn't care about her. What a mother. Da, 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 da. Called her all kinds of things because she lived in a nice apartment. She drives a Mercedes. That's her business. That didn't have anything to do with this case. Like I said, she's a traveling hair person. And if you don't know what kind of money is in that, you really need to check that out. It's a lot of money. She comes home. Her mother goes to bed. When her mother goes to bed, Mikayla has her backpack. She has her laptop in there. She has her cell phone, which does not have a SIM card. She has multiple other items in this backpack that would indicate she's not planning on doing what they're saying she's planning on doing. It looked like she was going back down to the clubhouse to do what she was doing in the first place before she was interrupted with these people that jumped her. Regardless, when they came to the scene, the detective noted that she was hanging from a small branch, or attached, rather. Don't let me get hanging out of there. She was attached to a small branch. Mikayla Miller was not a small person. She was an athlete. She played basketball. Hey, Tammy. And she just wasn't a small person. She had a black sweatsuit on. She had a black leather belt around her neck that was tied in multiple knots off of the tree, not tied to the tree in multiple knots, away from the tree, tied in knots. She was on a path. She was on a path, and they said that the ground was not disturbed. Okay. Another thing that they bring up is about something that happened a year previous between Mikayla and her mother. But I didn't get into that too much because to me, it didn't have anything to do with the case. I know what the allegations are. I know that there was a case pending. I know what the mother said. And until the mother proves to be untrustworthy, she's been nothing but upfront the whole time. Until she proves to be untrustworthy, I'm going to have to go with what she's saying, which is she was told that because of COVID, they were initially going to dismiss the claim against her. Apparently, her and her daughter got into it. And because of COVID, the case got pushed back. Well, when she went for her court date, she said she was told in the clerk's office that because she rallied in Hopkinton, that the case was not going to be dropped. So they're going to proceed with this case against her and her daughter, who is deceased now. So let me repeat that. They are going to proceed with this case, some kind of domestic case, where her daughter said that she hit her or done something, but her daughter's deceased. Yet we have an assault case where Mikayla was assaulted, and they're doing nothing about that. Nobody has been arrested, and as of I think it was May 20th, 20 something, no one had still been questioned. I haven't heard anything about the questioning part this month, but no one had been questioned in regards to Mikayla. None of the people. That came from a video that Ben Crump tweeted out. And I'm certainly not going to discredit Ben Crump. That's not going to happen over here. If he said it, he says it. He said she was jumped on by 5 white teens. 5 white teens. I think District Attorney Marion T. Ryan tried to say, oh, they weren't all white. They were white. You might want to check on the boxes that you check when you do stuff, because a lot of those things are considered white. Regardless, these kids are still floating around. So while watching Monica Cannon Grant, they were discussing the case of the young lady that was bullied in another town not too far from there, and she ended up committing suicide. And she was deceased, and they charged all 4 or 5 of those kids. They charged them, regardless of whether she was still alive. So I don't think that's a path they want to go down, because what's her name, Phoebe Prince or something like that. I'd have to look that up, but yeah, that's not a path you want to go down, to say that, oh, well, because she's deceased, then we can't do anything about it. No, yeah, you can. You absolutely can. So this happened on April the 17th. Today is the 24th, 25th. Still nobody's charged. Nobody's charged. As recently as yesterday, Ayanna Presley tweeted about it just yesterday. And what they did was, let me get back to this. So this path that Mikayla Miller supposedly went down to commit suicide was beside of a house, kind of adjacent to a house. The tree that they have said that she was attached to, I don't think would support her weight. That was also one of the arguments that Ben Crump had. Monica Cannon Grant did a separate autopsy through Violence in Boston. Those results have not been released. And because Violence in Boston paid for this separate autopsy, that report still belongs to Calvina Struthers. Calvina Struthers then gave the report to Ben Crump, because now he is her legal representative through another attorney office. They have not released those results, and people are throwing a fit saying, oh, well, the coroner here says that it was suicide, so what does your other report say? That's why you're not releasing the other report. Well, we don't know what's on that. We also don't know what Ben Crump's agenda is. He's a very smart man. And I can assure you that he has an agenda. And just because these people are jumping up and down, wanting them to release this second independent autopsy report, it's not going to happen. They can do that all day. Hey. So, they actually had her funeral without her there, which is really sad to me. Mikayla Miller was not at her own funeral. That doesn't happen very often. And it's sad. It's almost like you can't even get closure. Not only did they go on a complete and total smear campaign of Calvina Struthers. Thank you, Tammy. I really appreciate you. Not only did they go on a smear campaign for this mother who just lost her child, they talked about her job. How was she able to afford that apartment? Has nothing to do with the case. They talked about her car. How was she able to drive a Mercedes? Nothing to do with the case. She bought Mikayla a car. Nothing to do with the case. They talked about her deceased husband or deceased ex-husband, how he had passed away. That's none of their business and has nothing to do with this case. They talked about her GoFundMe. They did everything but call her a milk cow. And it's sad. She just lost her daughter. Not only did she just lose her daughter, she's fighting to get justice in her daughter's case. So it's very sad to me. Absolute jealousy. Absolute jealousy. But I was contacted on Twitter. Let me go back to this. Assault. The alibis for this assault. Two of the people claim they were at a Wendy's between 9 and 10 p.m. Well, she was found at 7:45 a.m. the next day. That's not an alibi to me. You got hungry, you went to Wendy's. Period. Where's your alibi from, say, midnight to 7:45 a.m.? That's what I would like to see for these two over here. The other two, their parents are their alibi, saying they were in bed. That's not an alibi for me either. I know that they looked at their phones, but just because my phone is at home doesn't mean I'm at home. That's just facts. Absolute facts. They also have this time frame of when the altercation took place, which is 1 hour and 24 minutes of time. So you're telling me they beat on this girl for 1 hour and 24 minutes? Is that what you're telling me? Or are you telling me that you don't know what time the altercation happened? And it gets even more fishy. The surveillance video from the apartment complex suddenly just goes down, does a reboot. Even NBC was like, it's awful strange that for a couple of days leading up to this and it comes back on the day after. No, that doesn't make any sense. Bear with me, guys. Sorry. That doesn't make any sense. So Monica Cannon Grant had gotten some information from one of the residents of the apartment complex that said, hey, the woman that takes care of the cameras, she doesn't like black folks and she can be bought. Stranger things have happened, people. Stranger things have happened. And I'm going to provide some more information tonight regarding the town of Hopkinton and exactly how the town is, because it definitely means something in this case. Say that we were looking at the Kanika Jenkins case. This wouldn't come into play here. We wouldn't want to look at the entire city of Chicago. But this case, absolutely. Right. How many crimes have been committed by saying, I was at home, check my phone? Right. Like the police didn't think that one through. I mean, come on. There is a news organization out of that area, and I was unaware of it until I got involved in this case. And that is, hey, G-Money, that is Turtle Boy. I don't know anything about him. I don't even want to call them a news organization. I don't know. I'm not about that. But a lot of people watch that. And Monica Cannon Grant says that it is a newspaper or organization that's run by white supremacists. I don't know that. I know a lot of the people connected to it have a lot of shady stuff attached to them. And I also know that he has fought with me on Twitter over this case multiple times, so much so that I had to block him. And that is where each one of these people are getting their information that have been attacking regarding this case. Like I said, I've gotten hate beyond hate. Okay. But it doesn't matter. It's all good. But the town of Hopkinton comes into play because there's too many people connected. You've got the police chief, the state trooper that initially responded to the call, told Calvina Struthers, look, if I was you, I wouldn't say anything, because if you do, your daughter's sexuality is going to come into play. So that was definitely eye-opening to her. More or less, don't say anything about it. And he is with the state police of Massachusetts. Yes, they are a mess. That's kind of what made her start looking at this like, this whole thing doesn't sound right. My daughter was attached to a small branch, and she had her laptop and everything with her. She had on a jogging suit. Where did the belt come from? Where did this belt come from? And Calvina Struthers says that the belt is neither hers nor her daughter's. She wanted DNA testing done on the belt. She said they don't own a black belt, black leather belt. Let me get that together. Black leather belt that neither one of them own is the belt that's found around Mikayla Miller's neck. Very strange indeed. Evil, absolutely. Right. So, Monica Cannon Grant put out sort of a call on Twitter, and I answered it. And when I started digging into this, I was like, this is bananas. This is absolutely bananas. There's also another case coming from that town where a man was pulled over, and there's no log of this traffic stop. He's on video for a few short moments. He runs and then disappears. They don't know who it was that pulled him over, which is very strange. And they find him in the water. This town is very strange. Now, I got a, absolutely, nay. I got a tweet or a message on Twitter from a person who said he grew up in Hopkinton. And he said, please keep digging. You are on the right track. He said, if I can be of any assistance to you, please let me know. I'll give you anything you need. I still have friends that live there. I have a lot of people that live there. This town needs to be exposed. And I was like, wow. That blew my mind. But he was like, you're heading in the right direction. Well, an article came out today. And I thought, wow, like how convenient. It came out today via the USA Network, but it's a USA Today Network, Metro West Daily News. The title of it, if I can get it pulled back up, Hopkinton faces its own reckoning on race and identity following Mikayla Miller's death. Now I'm going to read it. Very eye-opening. Shazane Ahmed Khan can't shake the memory of when classmates flung pork at him in the 8th grade. For a Pakistani Ahmadi Muslim like Khan, it was a particularly cruel act. In his faith, pork is prescribed as unclean food. Tanya Khan remembers being called ISIS woman by another student in middle school. Both Hopkinton High School graduates, who are not related, navigated their adolescent years as people of color in the suburban Boston community, which recently drew national attention following the death of Mikayla Miller. It goes on to say that she was found dead, the whole story that I just gave to you. Every year, people from around the world flock to Hopkinton to compete in the Boston Marathon. Despite the town's welcoming and inclusive attitude for the celebrated day, Hopkinton internally is experiencing its own moment on race and identity, a reckoning of sorts, occurring both behind closed doors and more publicly since Mikayla's death. Katie Walters, a 2017 Hopkinton High graduate, identifies as LGBTQ+, like Mikayla. She said she's still healing today from homophobia and bullying during her school years. By looking at my personal experiences with culture and social dynamics in Hopkinton, when I heard about Mikayla Miller, there wasn't much surprise. How terrible is that? For something like this to happen in my hometown, which I love in a lot of ways, and not be surprised. The ensuing wider discussion about racism and discrimination. Oh, thanks, Jackie's concern. Has drawn back a curtain on a culture that could have contributed to Mikayla Miller's death. Some community members contend, though, many questions remain. Town and school officials say they are invested in diversity, equality, and inclusion efforts. I bet they are. Amandi said many residents blamed the Black Lives Matter movement for the subsequent outcry, saying that it's going to destroy our small town. Amandi is Black and a rising junior at Hopkinton High. To all white adults reading this, yes, systemic racism does exist in your town. It goes on to do the demographics. Hopkinton, median household of more than $157,000. Current population around 18,600. Town has grown by 25% over the last 10 years. In 1990, 98% of the town white. Black people made up 0.4% of the population. In 2010, white people represented 84% of the population. Asians grew to 4.4%. Back to Shazane Ahmed Khan, 18. He moved to Hopkinton when he was in the 8th grade. He said it was the worst experience. He was frequently bullied and taunted about being a terrorist. Khan, who graduated in 2020 and now studies neuroscience at Brown University, kept mostly quiet about the bullying. While he told his parents about the name calling, he only just revealed the pork throwing incident this year. I was really scared to report these incidents. I was new, first of all, and I was afraid of the social repercussions that would occur as a result. Would I be isolated socially? Hopkinton School Superintendent Carol Kavanaugh says the district has been working earnestly on making the schools more welcoming and remains committed to doing so. Let's see. As he went through high school, he said the student population diversified. When he first got there, he said he could count on two hands how many brown people were in the entire grade. He and another student, Tanya Khan, who I spoke about, co-founded the South Asian Affinity Group as a safe place where students could share stories and celebrate their culture. The other girl, Tanya Khan, excuse me, said she was called ISIS Woman. And she said she told them, or she remembered thinking, do you understand that ISIS hates me more than they hate you? She said I had to laugh it off because they were so ignorant. She said when she went back to class, She was told that the students might be suspended. Con graduated this year. She spent the last year and a half in remote learning and says it was the best time being physically away from that school. That's sad. So basically, a lot of people are starting to speak up now regarding the environment. And I'm so glad you're here, Aaron McAdams, regarding the environment in Hopkinton. And it does play a big part in the case of Mikayla Miller, a huge part. Because there's a lot of bullying that does go on in that school regarding people that are different. They don't know what to do with them. They just don't know what to do with them. And what they get at home, if it's any representation of how they have came at me, I don't know if this was once a sundown town. I do need to check that out. But it just, the whole case doesn't sit right, and the town does play a part. When you have someone from the top acting suspicious, first saying this death is not suspicious, then saying they're investigating it. We are investigating what? You said it wasn't suspicious. So now you're saying it was suspicious because now when you find something to be suspicious, you investigate it. So now you're saying the exact opposite of what you said because people called attention to it. They were going to sweep this under the rug and just let it go. And no, it wasn't going to happen. Excuse me, guys. I'm still battling with that a little bit. Yes, being racist is nothing but the devil. You're right. 90% white for decades. Well, it's showing. It's showing. Recently, they wrote a letter signed by 13 different elected officials asking for an independent investigation, essentially. Now, my whole thing with this is I can't even get to the other part of how Mikayla died until they handle this assault. This is blatant assault. She said it out of her own mouth at her own press conference. The police documented that there was physical injuries, and according to Massachusetts law, that constitutes an assault. Assault and battery, if you really want to get technical about it. So why has no one been arrested in this? It's a problem. Thank you, Tammy. You're the sweetest. The sweetest. Hey, Win Gossip News. The assault is so in your face, and you know it happened. It's like some kind of Stephen King novel. Is this a town that he wrote about? Everybody in the town knows it happened, but nobody's doing anything about it. It's like they're all sitting back in rocking chairs smiling, like, what is going on? Why are you not arresting somebody? You have all the evidence you need to have someone arrested in this case. Right. They don't want to give them a record. Mikayla's ex-girlfriend, Caitlin, that's as far as I'll go with it. Right. Right. Derry. She ran to this news organization and cried like she's the victim in this. And the way it looks is she formed a little posse to go over there to get her belongings from Mikayla. She had enough time to do that. Make a call and say, hey, I got to go get my stuff. Let's roll. That's what happened. There's no denying that. That is what happened. She showed up with her friends, and they tried to beat the brakes off Mikayla. They busted her lip. What happened in that fight? I don't know. I wasn't in there. And we don't have any surveillance. Imagine that. They were asking, Tito Jackson, former council person for Boston, said that while he was in that position in Boston, they would bring in cameras a lot and that information goes straight to the cloud. So was the camera not backed up to the cloud? Can they not retrieve that surveillance? It doesn't make any sense. Why can't you retrieve the surveillance from the fight? Not only did they completely demolish the clubhouse, it even was outside. The police came back to take pictures of the damage. That's how bad it was. Now, in the smear campaign, in the smear campaign of Calvina Struthers, what they tried to do was they said, "Oh my goodness, what a mother! Where was she at? I can't. She was at home. What are you talking about? She was at home. Mikayla was at the clubhouse. Do you think she needs to hold her daughter's hand to go to the clubhouse in their apartment complex? No. This was something regular that she did. Now, they Turtle Boy, whoever, has put it out there that Calvina Struthers was not at home. That's so not true. The police spoke to her. How can you say she wasn't at home? They spoke to her and she signed. She couldn't have signed over the phone. Then her bedtime comes into play. Because as soon as she went to sleep, that's when Mikayla rolled out. Well, I won't say rolled out as soon as she went to sleep. She could only account for her being there up until the time she went to sleep, of course. Since she said she went to bed at like 9:30, 9:45, something like that. So she knew that Mikayla was in the house at that point. Her bedroom is on one side of the apartment. Mikayla's is on the other. It's a rather large apartment. When you're asleep, you're asleep. I was once that age. I got out with no problem. Okay. In and out with no problem. It's just, they have really used the smear campaign to just throw dirt all over this lady, and it's terrible. So let's correct that. Calvina Struthers was at home. Mikayla Miller's phone did not have a SIM card in it. Did not have a SIM card. So this health app that they keep going to, that health app would only have worked within the Wi-Fi. Now what they did was they Googled, this is facts, this is not made up. They Googled from the apartment complex to the location where she was found. And they said that that was the approximate number of steps. Yes, this is facts. I'm like, what in the world? That doesn't even matter because she couldn't have used that out of Wi-Fi. Regardless, they did Google that. The handling of the crime scene, I can tell you, I can assure you that it was not handled properly. Barney Fife shows up and they didn't handle it correctly. So some cases, when you look at it, may look like a suicide, but you can't treat it like that. You got to look at all of the factors. The moment I saw that twig would have been a clue for me that, hey, let's lock this down just in case it is a crime scene. And let's get everybody out of here. Let's start a log. Yeah. And the Wi-Fi wasn't working. There you go. There you go. Right. The mother's whereabouts have absolutely nothing to do with anything. It's totally blown my mind. This woman just wants justice in her daughter's case. Period. Period. Her reputation has nothing to do with this. We're dealing with an assault first and a possible suicide, possible murder is what we're dealing with, depending on which side of the fence you're going to go on. And then you look at all of the facts of the case. And that's what I want to see. You can't even get these people to do anything. Can't get them to do anything. In the beginning, and also the district attorney of Middlesex County, Marion T. Ryan, is going to try to make a run for attorney general. That's a problem. This case is a problem for her, where she could have very easily swept it under the rug and went on about her business and been looking bright and shining. She's no longer. Thank you so much. No, I don't believe so, Aaron. Ayanna Presley sent a tweet yesterday regarding it. Yesterday or today. May have been today, actually, regarding it. And yes, it is wrong on a million different levels. It is so wrong. So wrong. The mother of the girlfriend went to Turtle Boy. And Monica made this statement, and it's so stinking true. I've heard it multiple times. There's nothing more dangerous than a white woman's tears. There is nothing more dangerous than a white woman's tears. Facts. She got on there and she cried and she whined and she cried and she whined. Her daughter was part of the assault. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So anyway, instead of running to NBC, CBS, CNN, all of those people who were there, mind you, who were there, would have been glad to talk to her, would have loved to have talked to her. She runs to Turtle Boy. Speaks volumes. Speaks volumes. Yes, she went to a white supremacist organization to spread the word. And didn't she? And didn't she? Every single person that came at me, absolute worst, were basically quoting the same things he had said. So I knew exactly where it was coming from. It was coming from him. You can ask Dee Walsh. I forwarded her an email that came from a school account in that area, a college account, the college email of someone threatening me. I contacted the school. They did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. I contacted them 3 or 4 times. They did nothing. I'm like, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yes, we had a time with those people. Absolute time. It was terrible. Thank goodness for Dee Walsh, because she helps me tremendously. No. What was the name of that school, Dee Walsh? Is it Worcester? What is it? I can't remember the name of it. Worcester, something like that. I contacted the register. I contacted everybody at that school, and that's it. You got it right there. Yes, her name is Courtney, and I had to block her on every social media account I had. She even went to my Facebook page, found out my name, or she's my email. Big shit, I don't care. She went and pulled out a picture of me, sent it in that email. I mean, just stalker like behavior, absolute stalker like behavior over this case. And I was like, for her to have taken so much interest in that case, that's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. People are crazy. I was like, but for her to take that much interest in this case, is it your daddy? Is it your cousin? Who is it to you? Because people don't act like that for no reason. They do not act like that for no reason. She had some kind of personal interest in this case. And I don't know. I don't know. So since Ben Crump took over, it's been kind of quiet. Hi, Sarah. Yeah, it's been kind of quiet. And that usually happens for a couple of reasons. But the main reason is, number one, they might want to quiet things down a little bit. Because once you get it quiet again, then you come back out with something and you blow their minds and it makes news. That's the way it kind of works. Will do. Think I won't? Will do. Yes, she was nuts, D. Walsh. That little girl is crazy. And she don't know me like that. A huge cover up, G Money. Huge. Vanessa saying. But so Ben Crump, it's gotten quiet. Ben Crump's been working on the case, and I'm sure his clerks are working really hard on the case. And they have not released the second autopsy, the independent autopsy. But that is another thing that really pissed people off, because they were like, the Middlesex County District Attorney said, oh, we will not have the autopsy results until possibly July, I think is what she said. Even though they came back sooner, she was kind of giving them a warning. It might be July. So they had already done all of the preparatory work required in an autopsy, without us getting into too much detail. So when the second autopsy was to be performed, it was quite simple. It didn't require all of the, medical stuff that goes on in an autopsy. Cutting. Let's just get it all the way out there. They had already made the cuts. So it was a fairly simple, just fairly simple autopsy. It was done by someone out of state. And the people that took the body of Mikayla Miller onto this second autopsy were told, hey, don't leave. We know you guys drove a long way, and it's not going to take that long. A couple of hours will be done. So people keep throwing that up and saying, excuse me, a couple of hours for an autopsy, I wouldn't trust those results and blah, 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 blah. And once again, return to research. Like I said, all of the hard work had been done on the first autopsy. So basically, this second person is coming along and going over what had already been done. All of the cuts had already been made, all of that good stuff without getting too gory. So that's why it didn't take but 2 to 3 hours. Very good reason why. A lot of the hard work had been done. So that's another thing that these people kept bringing up. It's all, they went on a smear campaign to the newspapers over Calvina Struthers. It was actually published in the newspapers. This stuff about her home and all this stuff. And I could not get over that. And then this case that was supposed to be dismissed because of COVID didn't get dismissed. And she has to go back next month. Now, there's no telling what they're going to do to her, because now she has a pending case. We'll see. But it's set on the docket for next month. And I'll be interested to see what they do. And I'm sure Ben Crump is going to be very interested to see what they do as well. because technically now she has legal representation. So, yeah. But I'm not going to stop talking about this case. This case bothers me tremendously. It bothers me tremendously. I don't know. I have it on my notebook under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 huge books holding up a light. I'll put it though in the comments under this announcement for this live is what I'll do. And that way I'll have it out there. That DEA is definitely something else. Unfortunately, her clean run for the Attorney General's office is just not going to happen. In the other case that Monica Cannon Grant had brought up, she withheld 19 pages of exculpatory evidence. Withheld it intentionally. 19 pages of evidence that would have been favorable for that person. She withheld it. That speaks volumes. Volumes. I would not want to be in court in that area. I certainly would not. Yeah, I'm wondering about that. No, they are not talking about it anymore. And I was really glad to see that tweet from Ayanna Presley. And then the letter that they sent. I thought that took guts to send that to Mary and Ryan. Guts. 13 elected officials signed that letter. 13 elected officials wanting her to give this investigation to someone else. So, we'll see. I really hope that they do, and I hope they do quickly, because I really want some justice in this case. That was her only daughter. Like, she's grieving her only daughter, and they're smearing her name everywhere you turn. And you can just about imagine how they treated her in that town. You can just about imagine. But I will say this. During the rally and during the protest, and that was another thing that these Turtle Boy fanatics were saying, nobody showed up to the protest. Nobody showed up to the protest. I thought it was really tacky that towards the end, the police organized themselves on their motorcycles and rode through there to basically 102. Sheesh. Okay, Tammy, bless your heart. Thank you so much. Love you back. That's what I was about to say, Nene. I have really been happy to see that. Because in that video that she took that showed the police riding through there, asserting their presence, making sure, yes, that's right, it was a big FU. You could see that there were a lot of white folks there, and that really made me happy. At the vigil, there was a lot of white folks there, and that made me happy. Yeah. They were also talking about how the businesses put Black Lives Matter signs up in their windows because they thought it was going to be a circus in town over this vigil. They thought people were coming to burn that bitch down. It did not happen. It was a vigil. It wasn't a protest. It was a vigil. And because Turtle Boy put it out there, they just bought it hook, line, and sinker for whatever reason. I don't know what it is about him other than, he wears that white sheet. I don't know. But these people, when he says something, it's the gospel, and they run with it. I've never seen that before. Someone that has that much power over people. It's very strange and very scary, especially when they're running with the wrong information. It's very scary. And I think he knows that and loves it, period. I wish more people had shown up for the protest, but it is what it is. I was glad that one person showed up. As long as one person cares, that's it. I'm good with that. So I'm going to still be on this case. It's not over. Little things are trickling in, and I'm trying to catch them as they come, so not to pile them all up into one big thing. And I'm going to ride this wave all the way out. I'm going to ride it all the way out. Because I feel like there needs to be something done in this case. I've called Marion T. Ryan's office. I've called all of the people. I've sent the letters. I've done all that. I had to go to the library and print the letters out. They had a form, just a form letter, and all you had to do was sign your name. Thank you, Aaron. Well said. Well said. Yes, I'm really glad that the Trump signs are out there. I know this is going to sound terrible, and I apologize if it does, but when I see it, I'm like, I know who you are now. That identifies it for me. I got you. I got you. I won't be turning around in your driveway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got you. It just lets me know. And I like that. I like to know who a person is up front. I can handle you regardless. But up front, when I know what your views are, okay. Gotcha. I got you. Yes, he's just so insignificant. So insignificant. Man, they love him around there. I had never even heard of him until then. Right. Exactly. Aiden Kearney. There you go. There you go. Pitiful. Pitiful. All right, guys. I think I've tied up enough of your time. I really appreciate you guys coming and listening. This is not going to be my last live on Mikayla Miller. That's a promise. I'm going to keep on moving. I think I am going to talk to the guy from Twitter who was from that town and just see what where that goes. You never know. Really never know. And I'm going to keep monitoring it, and I'm going to keep tweeting and doing everything I need to do. Exactly. Yes, I know how to handle you. When I see that you have a Trump sign, I know how to handle you now. I don't have to guess anymore. You're upfront with it. Good. Appreciate it. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Peace and blessings to you, G Money. All right, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming. I was like, I hope I can make it through a whole live without my throat starting to crack up. But a couple of times, but it's all good. It's all good. You too, April. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. It means everything to me. I probably will do another live tomorrow. I'm working on something else. I've got a little situation going on here and just trying to get adjusted. That's it. Nothing else wrong. Just a good situation. Just trying to get it situated and adjusted and back on track. So that's all that's been going on. Sarah with H. I love that. Yes, go back and catch the beginning, please. Lord, me and Sarah done thought I had done cussed her and acted a fool. Hey, Boss Blake, how are you? And it was talking to some person on there about something else. I was like, dang, I should have directed that at them. And then we got it straightened out, though. I've never talked like that to you, Sarah. My parents like Trump, and they don't have signs either. I'm like, y'all are special. You guys are some kind of special. I said, I don't know what it's like to live in a world where all you do is watch Fox News. No wonder you guys are so out of touch. Yeah, I don't bite my tongue. Thanks, D. Walsh. Woo! Antibiotics have been everything for me. At work, slaving. Oh, I appreciate that. I really, really do. I'm mad at you, though, on a side note. Mad at you, Boss Blake. I feel like everybody can get a hold of Boss Blake but me. I got to send an email. Like, come on. Come on with the jokes. Don't work too hard. I'm like, everybody talks to Boss Blake but me. Like, I can't even shoot him a text. Like, come on. Stop it, I say. Fox News and Facebook. Yes, and my dad got Facebook and Fox News and Facebook, and that's it. Lord, he's going to be off the chain. Off the chain. I can't stand Fox News. Sometimes I just turn it on to see when something big's going on, I just turn it on to see what they possibly could be talking about. You know what I mean? It's funny to me. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, I've wasted enough of you guys' time. I really, really appreciate you all stopping through. I'm gonna keep pushing with this case, and we're gonna ride it all the way out, guys. But I appreciate every one of you guys for coming. I really, really do. You just don't even realize. You guys have a great start to your weekend. You might see me again tomorrow. We'll see. Thanks, Derek. I appreciate that. Thanks for stopping through, Aaron. I'm really glad you did. You shine the light for me. You did it for me. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even been here. Appreciate it. Hey, Michelle. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Boss Blake. Yeah, that news is. You never know what you're going to get out of that news. Yes, prayers up for Surfside, Florida. That's terrible. Terrible. I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. What a horrible tragedy. Horrible. Oh, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. All right, guys, I'm gonna end it. I'd talk all night if I could. You guys have a great Friday night, and hopefully I'll see you guys back tomorrow. Will do, Boss Blake. Will do. Talk to you later. Bye, guys.